You're overqualified. You're underqualified. How do you deal with these two ends of the spectrum and really everything in between? On today's episode, I am going to bust some myths and help you deal with the thoughts that you're either underqualified or overqualified for a job. Let's go. Welcome to the Love Your Work Life podcast, where you will get encouragement, strategies, all the things you need to love your work life. This is about transformational, strength-based coaching for career, for leadership, for life. I'm your host, Elissa Shuck. Let's get started. Today I'm going to talk about qualifications because we have everything when it comes to qualifications, from feeling overqualified or being perceived as overqualified to feeling or being perceived as underqualified for a role. And of course, this is normal to feel this way during a job search. But the key is understanding what's real and what is just your brain telling you that you're over or underqualified and how to handle it. So I'm going to talk about what happens when you feel overqualified, when you literally are overqualified, and how to handle it because you don't want to be perceived as overqualified. It's so interesting, the number of people who come to me and say, hey, they said I was overqualified for the job, or hey, I could do this job in my sleep, but I'm not getting hired, even though it's a job you want and you don't care if you're overqualified for it. There's a technique that I want to teach you to help you overcome this obstacle and know how to respond in all of those interview conversations so that in the end, you get what you want. There's any number of reasons why you may feel overqualified or be perceived as overqualified, and that could be age. Now, I know ageism is a thing. I get it. I'm not saying it's not real. I believe that that is something that many people encounter on both ends of the spectrum. Sometimes it can be because you are more advanced in your career, and sometimes it could be that you're early in your career and you may be getting dismissed because you don't have the years of experience. So we'll talk about that in the underqualified. But let's say age is a thing and you're in your 40s or 50s and you're interviewing with someone in their 30s. I get it. And let me tell you something. Let me let you in a little secret. If you think about it, you already know. The person in their 30s who's interviewing someone in their 40s or 50s, they feel uncomfortable too. Trust me, I remember when I was a 30-something and I was in leadership and running a large organization. It is easy for that person to feel intimidated. So keep that in mind when you go in, that there's two mindsets at play here. Another reason that you might feel overqualified or be perceived as overqualified is simply your career history, your experience, your expertise. You just have more years in, or you have multiple degrees, and these are things that can be a distraction in terms of your qualifications. Another reason that you may be encountering this concept of being overqualified is if you've decided that you are going to move from leadership to individual contributor. Maybe you've just decided that you don't want to do job performance reviews anymore. You don't want to be responsible for other people's performance. No problem. There's all kinds of stages and seasons in our careers. And if you're at that place where you just want to step back and you're thinking about another time in your career that was so amazing and fulfilling and stress-free, and you want that again, you should be able to have it. and not feel guilty or bad or have to deal with being perceived as overqualified because of that. Another reason that you might encounter this idea of being overqualified is you're making a change because of your personal values. You're making a change because of the stage that you are in your career, that you don't want a regular full-time role. You'd rather do a contract role, or you'd rather look at something that's more on a part-time basis. But you have this concern that doing that is going to be difficult because the other person's going to perceive you as being overqualified. Listen, there's all kinds of reasons you want to do that. Lifestyle, stress, work life, as I call it, work life integration, also known as for some as work life balance. Any number of reasons can have you encountering this idea that I'm overqualified and no one's ever going to hire me because I don't want to dumb myself down. And listen, I'm not suggesting that you dumb down your skills, accomplishments, or anything else. What I am suggesting is that in an interview, in these conversations that you're having, that you realize and you apply the concept that it isn't all about you. It's what do you need to say so that the other person sees you as a great candidate, someone who's highly relevant, who's perfect, who is the one that they are looking for. Now, this is an interesting concept because we get into interviews and we think that we need to tell them everything you've done, especially when you're highly qualified to overqualified. What's happening is when you get into these interview conversations and you're making it all about you, you will slip into convincing energy. You may even, as one of my clients mentioned one time, steamroll over the hiring manager and eliminate yourself from consideration. I don't want you to do that. What I want you to do is consider that these conversations are about what does this other person need to know about you to see you as a viable candidate. Only what they need to know, not what you want to say. And this comes down to editing. This comes down to strategy. This is about being super intentional about what you say so that the other person doesn't feel intimidated. They need to know what they need to know. That is all. This is a marketing campaign, and you hear me say it all the time because if you are over marketing, if you're giving someone information that they don't need to know, they feel overwhelmed. It almost becomes like choice overload, and you start to lose your credibility. They start becoming confused. And as one marketing guy I love to listen to says, if you confuse, you lose. And sometimes all of that career history, all of that great value can be confusing to the person on the other side. So edit, constrain, be super strategic about what you share about yourself. Here's a technique for doing that. Look at the job description and think of each one of those items as a pain point to be solved or an aspiration to be achieved, a goal that they have in mind for the team, the group, the company, the role. When you look at it like that and you think of your specific qualifications, your specific experiences and accomplishments that align just to those bullet points, stick to the script. Don't feel obligated to go beyond that. And when you go into an interview feeling a sense of ease and certainty, instead of feeling like you need to convince someone that this role is okay for you, that you don't need something higher, it's going to change everything about how that conversation goes. So it's not about dumbing yourself down. It's about being relevant. It's about understanding your audience. It's about understanding that they only need to hear what they need to hear. And man, once you get into that role and you've got other qualifications and other tricks up your sleeve, and you have an opportunity to come alongside that person with some of your additional experience, how solid, how awesome is that going to be? So hold back a little bit. Don't be afraid to just only state what's absolutely necessary. And instead of convincing someone that you're perfect for the job, give them only what they need to know so that they can figure that out on their own. And you can give that hiring manager the thing they are looking for, which is, oh my gosh, this person is the one. Have those experiences. Don't feel overqualified. Don't act overqualified. Be exactly what that hiring manager needs and nothing more. And those interviews will go, oh, so much better. Okay, you know how to handle overqualified. Let's talk about underqualified. And that is a particular challenge. I was just on the phone. Maybe it was a LinkedIn chat, but whatever it was. I was chatting with someone about their feeling underqualified and the struggle it was to get someone to notice them. This person was early in their college career. They were really wanting to get an internship, a role inside the industry, inside the specialization that they were studying, and it's a challenge. I totally get that. And there are a few reasons that I think people are underqualified or feel underqualified, and that the early graduate, the early in your career is certainly one of them. Another one is that you actually are underqualified. You need more skills. You need to take some courses, take some classes. So that's another reason. And then the third reason that I believe underqualification exists out there is career pivots. And this is when you know you want to do something else, you feel called to it, but there's something lacking in there. And we'll talk about that as well. Now, one of the best ways to overcome being underqualified is to look for the connections, look for the common denominators between what you're doing or what you've done and what you want to do. Let me give you an example. I have teacher clients who want to move out of teaching into other roles. Sometimes it's ed tech, sometimes it's client success, sometimes it's sales. Teachers make great salespeople, by the way. But here's one of those examples. If you can convince a group of students, little kiddos to high school to 13-year-olds to do something that they don't really want to do, chances are you're going to have the influence, the negotiation skills, the authority in your approach to do a lot of other roles like project management. There are so many roles available. And when you think about your transferable skills in this way, and you start looking for those common threads, you start looking for the common denominators between what you've done and what you want to do, you will start to feel more secure about it. And listen, you've got to connect the dots for yourself before you can connect the dots for anyone else. Because if you're going to go into that interview and really speak authentically and speak with a sense of ease and certainty, you will have had to connect those dots for yourself. Trust me, that's how you do it. One way, practically speaking, to find those common threads and connect those dots is to look at job descriptions and look at the job descriptions that you've been in. Maybe your current role, you've got a copy of the job description, but look at the future job descriptions. Look at, maybe even create a roadmap for yourself, looking at job descriptions of the next level that you want or the pivot that you're wanting to make, and take a really close look. Notice the things that are very similar to what you've done. And you may have to navigate some inside language. You need to do a little bit of detective work to start uncovering the things that actually are the same responsibilities, the same duties, things that are very similar, and give yourself credit for having that experience, for having those qualifications. So use job descriptions to your advantage. Wherever you're comfortable finding them, you can just Google a job title and you'll come up with some job descriptions, or you can use your job search platform of choice, LinkedIn, Indeed, whatever, to find those. But that is a great place to start. Not only to find the common denominators, but to find the gaps. So whatever is required in that role and you don't have that skill, then now you've got your list. Now you can start tracking the things you need so that you can go out there and seek mentorship, find a course, do what you need to do to elevate so that you have the skills that you need. Another really great resource that I forget about it once in a while, but onet.org, that's the letter ONET.org, is a wonderful site for researching roles, looking at job descriptions. They even have some little assessments in there that you can take to help see if you are qualified, or you've got the skills, or you have the, general behaviors that are required for a job. And of course, I love behavioral strength surveys. And I use a specific one in my practice because when you understand your natural tendencies, your behavioral strengths, those are the things that underpin success. Those are the things that are those little clues as to your current qualifications or your aptitude towards those things. And those will help you find the courses, find the add-ons that you need to have. But look at job descriptions in those two ways. What do you have and what are the gaps? And then set some goals for yourself to achieve those gaps. Now, let's talk about the early graduate, the underqualified from that perspective. Early grads, listen, your courses, everything that you've done to invest in yourself in that education counts as skills. Please make sure that on your resume that you have a proficiency section that lists all of the skills you gained as a result of your education. Do not be shy about that. And also don't be afraid to highlight it. Don't think that someone else knows that because you have that degree, they automatically understand that you must have those skills. I'm all about making it super duper easy for the person reading the job description to understand, okay, good, check. This person has those skills. So make sure that you have a proficiency section that is highlighting the skills, and where you talk about your education on your resume. And if you're, super early grad or even still in school, education might be at the top of your resume in that first third versus down at the bottom. That's totally acceptable. But wherever you list it, put your courses, put your focus of study. If there was anything unique about your education, or you added on or you did extra study to shore up your skills in a particular area, be sure to call that out. If you confuse, you lose. Sometimes confusion is also not enough information. So if you're not highlighting the things, if you're making assumptions about what someone should know or could know, please don't do that. Maybe they do know. And why not highlight those things just to simply give a hiring manager that aha moment that you have what is necessary. So for all my early grads, don't discount your education. That counts as skills and experience. List your projects. Those count as experience. And when you have some work experience, make sure that you are highlighting the things about that experience that are related to the role that you're seeking. Let's put it like this. If you worked in hospitality or restaurant as a server, you have awesome communication skills, you have sales skills, and you probably have wonderful customer service skills. Look at those things. Talk about them in a way that relates to where you're headed, not just where you've been. That's a secret sauce. That's a little nuance there that you can use to your advantage. Remember, your resume isn't everything you want to say about yourself. It is what does the other person need to know about you to see you as a viable candidate. So be strategic, be intentional, be selective about the bullet points that you include in your experience and include the ones that are most relevant to where you're headed. That goes for you career pivot, you career transition people as well. Be selective. You don't need to say everything. You just need to give that person, that hiring manager, that little moment of, oh my gosh, they get it. All right. If you feel underqualified, make sure that you're also being sensitive to your brain. Are you feeling underqualified because of something you're thinking? Or is it an actual reality that you need to work toward? Understand those things, set up some goals for yourself, use these strategies, and go for it. You know, I love that quote by Goethe that talks about the magic and genius and power that's in boldness. So set your sights on something and go for it. And in this week in the show notes, I have a special surprise for you. I've created a career workbook that's going to help you really wrap your brain around strategy, a roadmap, setting some goals, and even mindset, so that whenever you decide that you're meant for something more in your career, this is going to be a workbook that will help you. So be sure to check out the show notes. Look for the link so that you can get access. It's free. And remember, we've all had times in our career where we felt overqualified or underqualified. You get to be strategic. You get to package your story in a way that helps the person interviewing you, that helps the person hiring you, but also serves your purposes. Don't let these two things, underqualified, overqualified, stop you from getting what you want in your career. All right. Talk to you next time. If you like listening to this podcast, I invite you to visit the Love Your Work Life website at elissashuck-careercoach.com. On the site, you're going to find free resources and information about all of my coaching programs, everything you need to land a great job, advance your career, and lead and build an awesome team. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, and don't forget to follow me on LinkedIn.